Music has been called the universal language of mankind. Every instrument you hear began not just with a craftsman's skill, but with a moment of inspiration in a workshop, a palace, a battlefield, or even a dusty village square. Today, we travel through cities and centuries to discover the origins of the instruments that shape our music. Long before orchestras and concert halls, music was born from the simple tools of survival. Cavemen made rhythm by striking sticks against hollow logs, clapping hands, or stomping feet in unison. Animal bones became flutes, stretched hides over wooden frames became drums, and shells or stones rattled together made the first percussion instruments. These early sounds were not just entertainment. They were used in rituals to signal danger or to celebrate a successful hunt. As human society evolved, so did music. By the Middle Ages, instruments had grown more refined. Harps and lyres carried melodies in royal courts, while lutes and early violins accompanied traveling minstrels. The church became a powerful force in shaping music, developing choral traditions and complex harmonies. From the echo of a cave to the vaulted ceilings of a cathedral, music had transformed from raw survival sounds into a rich art form that connected communities and inspired the human spirit. The symphony orchestra was no single invention, but a gathering of worlds. Woodwinds carved from seasoned hardwood, brass hammered into gleaming coils, strings shaped from tone wood, percussion built from skin and shell. In cities like Vienna, Paris, St. Petersburg, and London, composers like Haydn and Mozart, Rachmaninoff and Tchaikovsky wove these voices into a single, powerful ensemble, the Symphony Orchestra. In 1700, in Florence, Italy, Bartolomeo Cristofori grew impatient with the harpsichord's limits. Serving in the court of Prince Ferdinando de' Medici, he asked, "What if a keyboard could whisper and roar?" He built a wooden frame of spruce and maple, strung with iron wires over a soundboard. Felt-covered hammers struck the strings when keys were pressed, giving the player control over volume. This pianoforte would become the heart of salons and concert halls. The piano was born. In Cremona, Italy, Andrea Amati shaped the violin from spruce tops, maple backs, and bent maple ribs. Gut strings crossed a finely carved bridge, sending vibrations into a resonant body. Amati's design, later perfected by Stradivari, became the gold standard, a small instrument with a voice as expressive as the human soul. In his Paris workshop, Adolphe Sax dreamed of an instrument with the power of brass, and the soul of woodwinds. In 1846, he rolled sheets of brass into a conical tube, soldered it, and added keys with leather pads. A single reed of cane brought it to life. Originally built for military bands, the saxophone soon found its voice in jazz, classical, and beyond. Born from the long hunting horns of France, the early corde de chasse was coiled to make it manageable. Brass sheets were hammered into tubes, bent around wooden forms, and fitted with a flared bell. By the early 1800s, valves were added in Germany, transforming the hunting call into the smooth, noble voice of the French horn we hear in orchestras today. Trumpets have ancient roots, from Egyptian silver horns to Roman war calls. But in Silesia, Germany, two men changed its future. Around 1814, Strölzl and Blumel added piston valves, craft from brass cylinders and springs, allowing instant pitch changes. Hammered brass tubing, a spun bell, and a polished mouthpiece completed the transformation into the modern trumpet. In Nuremberg, Denner studied the charlemagne, a folk reed pipe, and he saw potential. Carving boxwood, he drilled a cylindrical bore and added a register key to leap into higher notes. Brass keys and a cane reed gave the clarinet its bright singing tone. By the 18th century, it was winning hearts in the works of Mozart. The cello emerged alongside the violin as its deep-voiced sibling. Built from carved spruce and maple, with thicker gut strings, it offered warmth and power. Early players balanced it between their knees. The metal end pin came later. Its voice would become the lyrical heart of the string section. In Paris, court musicians Hotteterre and Philidor reshaped the outdoor sham for indoor elegance. Boxwood bodies were drilled with a conical bore, brass keys added for range, and a double reed of cane bound by thread crowned the top. Its voice could pierce through strings, yet still carry a lyrical melody fit for the Sun King's court. Flutes date back 40,000 years, but Theobald Boehm of Munich perfected the modern concert flute in 1847. He rolled silver sheets into tubes, soldered them, and created a revolutionary key system with padded seals. His design, inspired by organ pipes, gave the flute its agility and crystalline tone. The piccolo began as a scaled-down wooden flute in European military bands. Grenadilla, or boxwood, was drilled with a narrow bore, fitted with small keys, and topped with a lip plate. Its high-piercing voice carried over drums and brass, and later added sparkle to the orchestra. Timpani, or kettle drums, came to Europe from the Middle East through military bands. In Florence, metal or copper bowls were stretched with calfskin heads, tuned with ropes or screws. The deep, resonant boom of the timpani became the heartbeat of the orchestra, giving rhythm and drama to grand compositions. The harp is among the oldest stringed instruments, seen in Sumerian carvings from Ur. Early harps were carved wooden frames with gut strings, plucked by hand. By the 18th century, Parisian maker Sebastian Erard developed the double-action pedal harp, allowing players to change pitch instantly and bringing the harp into the symphony. The marimba evolved from African xylophones brought to Central America. In Guatemala, makers built wooden bars from rosewood, suspended over gourd or wooden resonators. Struck with mallets, each bar produced a warm, resonant tone. By the 20th century, the marimba's rich sound had spread to concert halls worldwide. In today's world, the guitar is identified with rock and roll, but its lineage stretches back over 4,000 years, with ancestors like the oud from the Middle East and the vihuela from Spain. The modern six-string guitar took shape in early 19th century Spain, largely thanks to the work of Antonio de Torres Jurado in Seville. The trombone, born in the 1400s as the sackbut, uses a sliding tube instead of valves, allowing smooth gliding changes in pitch, a definite asset in any orchestra. Finally, the mighty tuba, created in Germany in 1835 by Wilhelm Weikprecht and Johann Moritz, anchors the brass section of an orchestra with depth and weight. Here are a few more instruments that are frequently contributors to the sound of the symphony orchestra. The viola. The viola brought a deeper, warmer tone to orchestral strings, bridging the violin and cello. The gong, or tam-tam, has its origins in East and Southeast Asia, where gongs have been played for thousands of years in religious ceremonies, court music, and traditional theater. Brought to Europe in the 18th century through trade and colonial contact, the tam-tam quickly fascinated Western composers with its deep, resonant, and mysterious sound. By the 19th century, Romantic composers such as Hector Berlioz and Richard Wagner incorporated it into the symphony orchestra to heighten dramatic effect, and it has since become a staple percussion instrument for creating atmosphere, tension, and grandeur in orchestral music. The double bass, the largest stringed instrument of the orchestra, originated in Italy during the mid-1500s. Early makers such as Gasparo de Salo in Brescia are credited with developing its form. With its powerful low register, it anchors the entire orchestra's harmonic foundation. The celesta was invented in Paris in 1886 by Auguste Mustel. Its delicate bell-like tone comes from hammers striking metal plates, giving it a magical sound. The instrument became famous through Tchaikovsky's Dance of the Sugar Plum Fairy. Cymbals trace back to the Ottoman Empire in the 1400s and 1500s, with the Zildjian family of Istanbul credited for their refined production. Introduced to European orchestras in the 18th century, the deep crash of bass cymbals added drama and brilliance to the symphonic music. Then there's the triangle. The triangle's roots stretch to the Middle East and medieval Europe around the 14th century. Originally used in religious and folk music, its clear, piercing ring later found a permanent home in the orchestra. Despite its simple shape, composers used it to add sparkle and rhythmic clarity. With origins as far back as ancient Egypt and Mesopotamia, the tambourine was used in rituals and celebrations thousands of years ago. By the 1700s, it had entered European orchestras, often adding a dance-like or exotic flavor to the music. Its jingling sound remains instantly recognizable. Castanets are small wooden clappers from Spain, dating back to Phoenician influences around 1000 BCE. Long associated with flamenco and Spanish folk dance, they entered orchestral music in the 19th century. Their clicking rhythm brings a distinctly Iberian color to symphonies. The wood block comes from East Asian temple percussion, especially the Chinese muyu. It was adapted into Western orchestras during the 1800s. Its sharp, dry crack provides a unique percussive effect for rhythm and accent. The xylophone has ancient roots in Africa and Southeast Asia, with wooden bars struck by mallets. It entered European music in the 1500s, but was popularized in the orchestra in the 19th century, thanks to virtuosos like Michael Joseph Gusikoff. The glockenspiel originated in Germany during the 1700s, evolving from small sets of tuned bells. By replacing bells with metal bars, instrument makers created a portable and versatile instrument. Its sparkling sound often represents magic, innocence, or light in orchestral works. Invented in England in 1886 by John Harrington, tubular bells were designed to imitate church bells in a practical orchestral form. The long metal tubes resonate with a solemn, majestic sound, famously used in symphonies and film scores alike. And finally, the pipe organ, one of the oldest instruments still in use today. Invented around 250 BCE by Chestibus of Alexandria, its earliest form, the hydraulis, used water pressure to power pipes. Over centuries, it became the king of instruments, capable of both delicate whispers and cathedral-shaking thunder. The bassoon evolved in the 16th century from the dulcian, an early double reed instrument, and was refined in France and Germany into its modern form by the Baroque era. Its warm, reedy tone and wide range made it the bass voice of the woodwinds, complementing flutes and oboes. By the 18th century, composers like Haydn, Mozart, and Beethoven featured it regularly in symphonies, valued for both harmonic support and its distinctive expressive character. From the whisper of a flute in Munich to the thunder of a timpani in Florence, each instrument carries the memory of its city, its maker, and its moment of inspiration. Together, they form the living fabric of music, born from curiosity, shaped by craft, and given life by the hands that play them. And all along the way, the singing voices of religion have contributed much to music. Thank you for watching. Give us a like, subscribe, and then join us for the next chapter of Origin.